Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Patek Philippe Calatrava date sweep seconds reference 5227R-001 in rose gold with an ivory cream dial. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of the Calatrava, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar Calatravas, and then tell you about the case bezel dial bracelet movement. Finally, try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the Calatrava, the history. The Calatrava is Patek's one of their longest standing lines collections. It might even be the longest standing collection. It was created back in 1932, which is almost 100 years ago because it's now 2024. And it is their base model, their starting model of their watches. They make many different kind of watches. It starts with the most basic, which is time only. Then it's time and date only, which is what you see here. And after you pass time and date, then it's no longer a Calatrava. It goes into their complications. Their complications have all sorts of complications, as you can imagine, and then they have grand complication, which is a minimum of perpetual calendar and plus one other complication, making a grand complication. Anyways, this is the Calatrava line, so it's the very starting line that they make, and they've been making it for almost 100 years. They've gone through, as you can imagine, tons of different variations of it. It's evolved over, but it's actually looked more or less the same. If you look at the ones that they made like almost 100 years ago, they more or less look just like this. And as you can imagine, how else could it look? The watch only tells time and date only, and the first ones and some of the other Calatravas only tell time only. So you got to have three hands, and that's just how it looks. Okay. And of course, they made them through all different sizes. They made them small, lady size. They have like really tons of variations of it. I could go through with you on it and tell you, oh, there's reference 570, 565, 2457, 2526, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what the purpose of the video is. Basically, the point is that the Calatrava has been around for a very long time. It has a very long history, almost 100 years. And there you have it. It's their baseline. Okay, that's the history in a nutshell. Now, let's move on to this particular watch and tell you where this watch stands in the lineup. The 5227 came about approximately 10 years ago, and it evolved from the 5117, which was smaller, 37 millimeter, and at the time, like more than 10 years ago, that 37 millimeter was a good size. It was like a standard size. Now, watches have gotten bigger. People have gotten bigger, or at least their wrist size has gotten bigger in the last 10, 15 years. And so Patek Philippe is no different from any other company. They got to keep up with the trend, and they produced a dress watch a little bit larger. And all the 5227s, whether they're in rose, white, yellow, gold, are all going to be 39 millimeter, which, if you ask me, and when I tell you about the case, I believe is the perfect dress size watch. Okay, and Patek Philippe also believes that, hence 39 millimeter. And so that's a big difference. Of course, there's some other ones. I'll go through them when I talk about the details. But basically, it's a little bit larger in size, this 5227 reference, 39 millimeters. And yeah, okay. So, and where does this watch stand in the lineup of other Calatravas? Well, the Calatrava, as I told you, is a time date only or time date or time only. So it's the most basic of complications. Three hands is basically how you can see it. Now, for men, they make it with what you see here, time and date, in those three materials, white, yellow, rose, gold. They also make it with a very interesting one with just time only, which I really like this one. It's a reference 6119, and it has this hobnail bezel. It doesn't have the date, but it has small seconds at the bottom, and it's their time only watch with no date. Really awesome watch. And then they make sort of a kind of a sporty version of the Calatrava, which is a reference 6007. It looks like a sporty version of a Calatrava. And they also make some ladies ones and a sort of a vintage looking one. Okay, so but at least in terms of Calatrava, This is at the upper end of the Calatrava. It's the most expensive of the Calatrava because it's the most complicated. It has time and date. And when I say date, I mean 1 through 31 on the right-hand side of the 3 o'clock position. Okay, anyways, that is a little bit about where this watch stands in the lineup. Now let's move on to the watch itself, starting with the case. What I can show you about the case, I actually think it's really interesting and also noteworthy and beautiful. And as you would expect from a watch from a top manufacturer such as Patek Philippe, let's start with it. 39 millimeters. As I told you, I believe 39 millimeters to be the absolute perfect size for a dress watch. Why? Because sports watches usually start at 40 to 44 millimeters. That's the standard sports size watch. But I don't believe that's a good size for a dress watch. The difference is a dress watch is meant to be worn in a dress type fashion, such as you wearing a suit, going to a fancy dinner, going to a wedding, etc. Some fancy event with a collared shirt and a long sleeve. And you don't usually have a big bulky watch when you do that. Why? Well, because it won't fit under the cuff, and generally men are wearing cuffs, long sleeve shirts when they're in a dress type fashion, like at your work or any of those things I just mentioned. And so therefore you need a smaller watch with sloped edges so that it'll fit under the cuff and it doesn't protrude from the edge of your shirt cuff. And 39 millimeters happens to fit almost everybody. I would say like 95% of the people. It just really is a perfect size. Okay, and let me show you the height. Okay, now the height is also something very important. The height, or also known as profile, it's the distance when you put it flat on your wrist, and that distance is only 9 millimeters. Now, why is that important? Well, because the height actually is going to determine how easy this watch is to wear under the cuff, not so much the diameter, not as much as the height. If you have a very thick watch, it also won't fit under. So the height is very important, 9.24. Let's call it 9 millimeters. Now, if you think about what is a good height, to give you some reference, the Rolex Datejust is around 11 to 12 millimeters. This being 9, it's about 20% thinner, which is a pretty good thing, considering it's a dress watch. And then if you consider like an ultra thin watch is around 8 millimeters. Well, it's not an ultra thin, it's still got to have some heft to it. So 9 millimeters, I think they hit it right on. Okay, now what else you can notice about this case? At first you might not notice it, but this is why you're watching the video, because you're thinking about buying it and you want to see some reviews about it. And that's why I'm here to tell you. By the way, if you like to buy this watch, please do yourself a favor and ourselves a favor by going to jazztime.com or click on the link in the description below to buy it at the lowest price anywhere online. This watch, by the way, is retailing at around $40,000. We're selling it in the 30s, sometimes even less if it's on sale. So go to our website to buy it, all right, if you want to save money. Okay, the case. Anyways, look at the side. Look at the scalloped lugs, or these hollowed out lugs. They're not fully hollowed, but they have some hollowness to them on the edges here. And why is that nice? Well, it just looks beautiful. It requires more work. It requires more effort, and it allows the watch to have a more brilliant play of light when you look at it. Because if they had filled that space in, it would just look like every other watch. It would just have a side that is filled. But the fact that they scalloped out this the side of the case makes the watch look like it has more depth, and also gives a beautiful play of light, which I really think is a really beautiful touch to an already classic dress watch. Okay, so that's the lugs in the case. All right, the bezel, I was going to tell you about it, but there's not a lot to say about this bezel other than that it's sort of a domed bezel that does not have any fluting, or like in the case of Rolex. But what is different, if you might consider to other Calatrava, is the time only one, which is reference 6119, has a hobnail bezel. This one has a smooth bezel. Now you might wonder, what is the difference? Well, the hobnail, you're going to have to go to our website to see what that looks like. But in this case, the bezel is smooth. Now, why would you want a smooth bezel? Well, I think one of the reasons is if you're wearing this watch long term, and for, let's say, years and years, inevitably you're going to get some scratches, dings, and whatever. But with a smooth bezel, you're not going to see those dings because the bezel is smooth. But on a hobnail bezel, you really have to be careful, or a fluted bezel for that matter. For example, like in Rolex, or any other kind of bezel that has some kind of decoration on it. The bezel is the most likely damaged part of the watch, other than the crystal. But the crystal usually is sapphire, so it doesn't really get damaged. So the bezel is likely the part of the watch that shows the most wear. And if you have a hobnail bezel, if you dent it, there's no fixing it. It has to go back to Patek, and maybe they can laser it back. I'm not sure, but it cannot easily be done. But on a smooth bezel like this, it either won't show, or just show as light scratch, or it'll just be nothing, and it can easily be polished. So that's the benefit of it. It's a practical aspect of it. And it also lends to a very clean look. It doesn't have much decoration. It's just very clean and classic, as it has been for 100 years. Okay, so that is the bezel. Now let's talk about the dial. Now the dial they do here is an ivory lacquered dial. Lacquered means that they put paint upon paint upon paint, as opposed to enamel when they bake it. That they usually reserve that for their super ultra expensive watches that are like $200,000-$300,000 or more in their grand complications. So this being a starter Patek, they don't do that. But at any rate, it's still a very beautiful dial. It's ivory. I like to call it white because it basically looks white, but not exactly white. Ivory is a sort of off-white, but it kind of looks white. All right, anyways, now the hour markers are applied in gold, which it's to be expected. The hour markers and the hands, and they have these sort of I guess they call them dolphin hands. They look like double-edged sword hands to me. But at any rate, you can see the detail in the hands. It's two-sided, and of course it looks very beautiful. All right, so that is the dial and the hands. And let's move on to the strap. Now the strap, it can come as a dark, Patek calls it a dark chestnut, basically dark brown. It can also look black. It has a prong buckle, also known as a pin buckle or a belt buckle style buckle. And not too much to say about it other than the Calatravas are almost always on a strap. I think they're always on a strap. Strap means leather bracelet or canvas bracelet or a rubber bracelet, not a metal bracelet. That's a strap. Anyways, it's a very nice strap. You can change it as you want. I think the way that they pair it with a dark chestnut, dark brown is how it should be. So there you have it. Okay, now let's move on to the movement. Here's something really cool about the movement. Okay, let's start with this. The movement is covered in this closed case back. Now, Patek has done it. You might look at this and just go, oh, okay, no big deal. There's a case back, you open it, and then there's the movement. Well, you know what? If you look at it from the outside of the movement, with the case back closed, you cannot actually tell that you can open it. Why? Because there's no hinge. And now Patek Philippe took 2 years to figure out how to create a hinge that is invisible from the outside. So you cannot see the hinge. You obviously need a hinge to open it, right? But they concealed the hinge inside such that it cannot be viewed from the outside. So from when the case back is closed, you don't see anything. It looks as if there's no hinge. They developed it. Now you can open it and you can see the beautiful movement inside. It's a caliber 26-330 SC. It's got 212 parts, 45 hour power reserve, and a bunch of other neat things, and it's beautiful. And the case back itself is kind of has this mirror finish. Now on the earlier models they would print some stuff on it, like some hallmarks and stuff like this. But in the later models, such as the one you see here, interestingly what they do is they leave it blank. And why do they leave it? Because they actually encourage, or they feel that people may engrave something there. And I think it's really cool. So how does this work? Well, let's say you want to gift this watch to someone, or gift it to yourself, or remind yourself of a milestone. You might type in, or have it engraved on the inside of this case back when you open it up, like, I don't know, I love you or something, congratulations. And it can always bring you back to that moment, to when you did this. And so, but you don't have to look at it all the time, and it's closed. So then you want to open it, you could admire the movement, at the same time be reminded of a little message. Let's say your dad gave it to you or something like that, or your mom or whoever, or you're giving it to your son, daughter, whoever. And then you can read this little message, and it's quite nice. Kind of like engraving some people engrave their rings when they do it, when they get engaged or married, like the date of their wedding or something like that. It's just a nice little reminder, and Patek does it, and they don't do it for any other. Actually, they do for other ones, I think, but not very common. They have like 200 different models, and this is one of the few that has this option on it. Really cool idea, in my opinion. Okay, anyways, look, time for me to try it on. I weigh 200 pounds. I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and I'm 6 foot tall. So as you can see, I'm a large guy, not a extra large guy, but I'm not a small guy either, right? So I'd say large. And you see, the watch looks perfect on my wrist. 39 millimeters does not look too big at all. In fact, it looks perfect for a dress watch, right? And so, Patek Philippe is, of course, they're the top watchmaker along with Audemars Piguet. And so these two, probably Vacheron is up there, and Richard Mille is up there as well. But as far as dress watch, the Patek Philippe is the king. As far as other things, AP is top when it comes to sports watches. But look, if you want to buy a dress watch, which is obviously why you're watching this video, this would be it. This is the king of the heap as far as dress watch. I really like this watch. I really like it, and it doesn't really matter to me whether it's in rose, yellow, or white. All of them are really good. That's your decision. But I do like it personally in rose because it shows that it's in a precious metal. White looks a little bit not so popping, but it's not so bright as yellow. So to me, the rose is just perfect, and I love this combination of dark strap with this rose. I think it just looks very classic, beautiful, reserved. And look, if you want to buy it at jazztime.com and save yourself some money, please click on the link in the description below.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.